today we are going to be continuing our learning journey about volume of cylinders. And in today's lesson, we are going to be looking at how do we find the height, or how do we find the, and then tomorrow, or in our next lesson, we're going to be looking at how to find the radius. So we're going to be answering the essential question of how do we find the height of a cylinder. So today's lesson, we are going to be tying in our understanding of solving multi-step equations and balancing, trying to get the letter all by itself. So balancing equations. All right, so yesterday, or in the last lesson, if it wasn't yesterday, we talked about our formula being V equals the area of the base times the height. And we know that the area of the base is really just pi r squared, right? So we can rewrite this formula in a way that allows us to see that it's really just pi r squared. So when we're looking for the volume, we're going to take the area of the base and multiply it by the height. But really what we are doing is this base right here is really pi r squared times the height. So what we've done now is we've just simplified our formula. And now we can look for the height given any other letter that's inside the equation here. So let's go ahead and start with an example so that you can see what I am talking about. So example A. Example A says to find the height of a cylinder when the diameter is 10 and the volume is 314 inches cubed. So we have a cylinder that happens to be on its side. There we go. And it says that the diameter across is 10 inches. We do not know the height, and volume equals 314 inches cubed. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at what do we know. Okay, so let's start by rewriting out this formula here. So we know the formula we're using is volume equals pi r squared times the height. So let's plug in what are the things that we know. Well, first of all, we know that V equals 314. So where the V is, I'm going to write 314. I know pi, right? We all know that pi is 3.14. And the radius. Well, we know that diameter equals 10, so radius has to equal 5 because we just chop it in half. And we know this from previous lessons. So 3.14 times 5 squared. And we do not know the height. So we're going to go ahead and put the height right there. All right, so our job is to solve for h. We want to know, what does h equal? So let's go ahead and start to simplify this problem. So let's combine the things that we can combine. Well, we know that 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25, times 3.14 times the height. and that's all going to equal 314. Let's go ahead and combine these two now. So 314 times 3.14, oh my goodness, times 25.14 times 25, and that gives us 78.5 times the height. And so our job now is to figure out how to get h by itself, right? We want to isolate the variable, and that we know that to undo multiplication, we're just going to do division. So we're going to divide by 78.5 on this side, which means we have to divide by 78.5 on that side. This is going to give us a height of 314 divided by 78.5, and that gives us a height of 4. So our height equals 4. Okay, so in this problem, we knew the radius, we knew the volume, and we know that pi is 3.14. So we were able to use the information that we have to isolate the variable and get h all by itself. So height equals 4. All right, let's go ahead and do another example. Example B. Okay, example B says that we want to find the height of a cylinder with a diameter of 4 yards and a volume of 88 yards cubed, or cubic yards. And we want to round our number to the nearest whole number. So we're looking for the height of a cylinder. So here's example B, and we again have a cylinder. And our cylinder has a height, we don't know, but it does have a diameter of 4 yards. So we're looking for this diameter here of 4 yards, and we know that the volume equals 88 yards cubed. All right. So our job now is to find the height. So we need to make sure that we write out what we know and put what we don't know off to the side. So again, we don't know the height. That's what we're solving for. So we're just going to use that same formula. Volume equals pi r squared, or the area of the base, times the height. We know that the volume is 88 yards. We know that pi is equal to 3.14. We know that the radius, well, let's talk about the radius. We have a diameter of 4, which means that our radius is 2 because we just cut it in half. So we're going to do 3.14 times 2 squared times the height. Again, we don't know the height, so that is what we need to look for. So we're going to look for the height. All right, let's go ahead and start to simplify down the things that we can simplify so we can get the h by itself. 2 squared is the same as 2 times 2, which is 4, times 3.14, and we're going to set that equal to 88. Again, we're going to multiply that by the height. We still don't know what the height is. All right, so let's go ahead and clear this calculator out, and we're going to do 3.14 times 4, and that's going to give us 12 56/100 times the height times, and that equals 88. Again, to get the h by itself, we are going to isolate that variable by doing the opposite. So it's multiplying. Instead, we're going to divide. 0.56. And they said to round to the nearest whole number. So we're going to say now that h equals 88 divided by 12.56. Whoa. Okay. So you see that there's all these different numbers here. 7.006369426, whatever. We are going to just look right here at these last two, and we're going to round to the nearest whole. So the tenths column tells us to round to 7. So our height is 7 yards. So again, isolate that variable, plug in the things that you know, use the diagram to help us figure out what it is that we know. And then from there, you can reduce it down to put that letter by itself. So now we know that the height of this cylinder here is 7 yards. Okay, we're going to do one more example, and then we will do a try it. So go ahead and hit pause right now if you are not ready to turn the page. And then we are going to go ahead and do our next example. All right, example C. We have a water tank, and our water tank has a diameter of 20 feet, and it has a height that is unknown. So the height is unknown, but we do have a volume. So our volume equals 6,280 feet cubed. So our job here is to solve for h. Again, we don't know what h is, so we're going to solve for that. We're going to use our formula. Volume is the area of the base times the height. We know area of the base is really just pi r squared times the height. Okay, so those two things are equal. Let's plug in what we know. We know that the volume is 6,280. We know pi. We know that pi is just 3.14. And we know the radius. We can figure the radius out by looking for the diameter was 20. Our radius is going to be 10. So we're going to do 10 squared. And again, we're going to multiply all of that by h. Again, we don't know what h is. We're going to solve for h, the height. All right, so let's go ahead and start combining the things that are the same. So we know that 10 times 10 is 100. And we're going to just combine the rest of this. Keep simplifying. 3.14 times 100 is really just 314 times the height. 6,280. To get the height by itself, we need to do the opposite. So right now it is multiplying. So we're going to divide by 314 and divide by 314. So our height equals 6,000. All right, let's try this again. 6,280 divided by 314, and that gives us a grand total of 20. So our height equals 20 feet. Again, simplifying, finding the things that are, combining the things that are the same, so numbers with numbers, simplifying it down till you can isolate that variable and then find the height all by itself. Okay, we are going to look now at your try it. So let's go ahead and look at your try it for today. You are looking for the height. So look for the height. This cylinder that they give you today happens to be slanted. So, and I'm going to try my best here to draw one that's slanted so that you can see it. it doesn't matter that it's slanted. It still means the exact same thing. Okay, you still have a cylinder. They just give these slanted figures, they're called oblique solids. But they are, they're calculated the exact same, or you do the exact same thing as you would with a right solid, one that's straight up and down. Okay. All right, so we have 8 centimeters as our diameter. We do not know the height, and our job is to know to plug things in. We know volume is 176 centimeters cubed. All right, so the exact same thing. This one just happens to be slanted. And obviously in Big Ideas, they would draw it much better for you. All right, go ahead and hit pause right now so you don't hear me solving. And then when you are ready, you may hit play to check your understanding. So volume equals pi r squared times the height. We know that the volume is 176. So where the volume is, I'm going to write 176. I know pi is 3.14. Thank goodness that never changes on us. Diameter is 8. So our radius is 4. So I multiply this by 4 squared. And we do not know the height. All right. Let's go ahead and solve. 4 squared is 16, and 16 times 3.14, and that equals 176 times the height. All right. 3.14 times 16 is where we're at, so let's go ahead and use our handy-dandy calculator. We get 3.14 times 16, and that gives us 50 and 24 hundredths times the height, and that equals 176. Again, we want h by itself, so we're going to isolate that variable by doing the opposite. For a grand total of 176 divided by 50.24, and we're going to round there to the nearest tenth is what they wanted. So the nearest tenth is one spot after, so the hundredths is a 0. It just stays the same. So we're going to have a height of 3.5 centimeters. All right. How did you do on your try it? Go ahead and answer your essential question. How do you find the height of a cylinder? And then put your level of understanding out to the side. How are you feeling about finding the height, isolating that variable, combining things that are the same? Where are you at? And then when you are finished, you may head on back to the Google Meet and ask for help. Or you can jump on Big Ideas and do your practice work. As always, I appreciate all of your hard work and effort, and make it a great day.